I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've gotten some inspiration from other fans on YouTube that I watch. I'm going to give you guys my fandom of each team that are in the NHL. I'm only going to do 30 because I really don't have an opinion on Las Vegas at this moment because I haven't played a game yet. But as a Flyers fan, yes, I'm a Flyers fan through and through. Uh, I bleed orange and black. They're my favorite team. I'm not going to, stray from anything. If they ever play any of these teams that are in my top five, um, aside from the Flyers, who are number one, of course. But if they ever play any of the teams that are in the top, the top five that I like, I'm always going to root for the Flyers no matter what because that's my team. But there are other teams that I like and that I will root for if the Flyers are not in it. And those stem from childhood memories, and they also stem from growing up as a kid and stuff like that. So I mean, that's what I wanted to have fun with, and I did make a list. And granted, my pictures and all that stuff are kind of a little crude and all that stuff because I'm still new to not new to YouTube, but I'm still trying to figure things out. The setup you see right now is going to be different. I'm going to be trying to do a different setup coming up soon when the season hits and the next videos when as soon as I can get the chance to do that. But ranking the 30 teams from my least favorite to my favorite. Of course, everybody knows who my favorite is. I mean, that's a given. But let's talk about my least favorite. We all know who's at number 30, and that's the Pittsburgh Penguins. I cannot stand the Pittsburgh Penguins. Yes, they are the cross-state rivals of the Philadelphia Flyers, but they're twofold. There are other reasons why I can't stand the Penguins, and one of the main reasons, yes, is Sidney Crosby. Yes, arguably, I will give Crosby his credit. He is the greatest player. He is the greatest player in the game as we speak. But his whining and his bitching and his complaining is what really turns me off to him, is because he whines and bitches and complains all the time. Yeah, Gretzky was the greatest player in the game, but you never really saw Gretzky whine and complain. He just went out and played. I mean, to my knowledge, people in the comment section may tell me different, but I can't stand Sidney Crosby. He's just annoying. He's a baby. That's basically who he is. Granted, they've won cups. They've won two back-to-back cups, and I'll give Pittsburgh their credit. They're a great team, but it's just the mindset of that team thinking that they're better than everybody else, and they are. But I just cannot stand Pittsburgh. It, I don't like I don't like anybody on that team. From Matt Murray to Sidney Crosby to Evgeny Malkin to Chris Letang, the fat boy Phil Kessel. I can't stand anybody on that team because I feel that they're a bunch of pretentious babies that have been handed everything to them. Granted, also, I can't stand the Pittsburgh Penguins for another name, Darius Kasparaitis. Growing up, I was 13, 14 years old, and when Kasparaitis knocked out my favorite player at the time, Eric Lindros, I could not stand Pittsburgh after that. I hated Darius Kasparaitis for that main reason. Yes, did Lindros have concussion problems? Yes, but it started with Kasparaitis. Kasparaitis was a dirty player also. And that's another reason I cannot stand the the Pittsburgh Penguins. I respected Mario Lemieux. I did respect Mario Lemieux. The early 90s guys I did respect. I respected those guys on that team. I liked Yager, and I liked, guys that were on that team, except for maybe Ulf Samuelsson. He was a dirty player too. But I respected guys from Pittsburgh up until a certain point, and now I just can't stand the team. I just cannot stand Pittsburgh. Number 29 on my list are the New Jersey Devils. Okay, look, I live in New Jersey, and everybody in my state is like, why do you root for the Flyers when you live in New Jersey? You have a hockey team in New Jersey. A, I was born 15 minutes from Philly. B, I live 45 minutes to an hour from Philly. And I don't live 2.5 hours away from Newark where they play, or about 2 hours away. All right. I cannot stand the New Jersey Devils. It's not just that I don't like my state. I like living in the state that I'm in. Scott Stevens is the reason why I can't stand the New Jersey Devils. Martin Tambrodeur is the reason why I can't stand the New Jersey Devils. I could not stand the trap that they put, that they implemented back in the mid 90s. That was annoying. And as a Flyers fan growing up, we just couldn't see, yes, we couldn't beat them in the playoffs. It just cemented the fact that my fandom as a Flyers fan is that I just could not stand Scott Stevens. There's nobody, I don't think there's anybody on the New Jersey Devils that I can say I have respect for because I don't. I mean, I hate them less than the Penguins, but I still hate the New Jersey Devils. And it's not just because it's because of Scott Stevens and Martin Brodeur. I cannot stand those two. But also it's because of the people that live in my state saying, "Oh, you should root for the Devils," and you live in New Jersey. No, I'm not rooting for the Devils because I live in New Jersey. Like I said, I was born 15 minutes from Philly. I live 45 minutes to an hour away from Philly. It's more convenient and it's easier for me to do that. And I was born and raised a Flyers fan. My father is a Flyers fan. All right, that's where I get my fandom from. My grandfather, who unfortunately passed away not too long ago, was a Flyers fan. And we cannot stand the New Jersey Devils. Just because we live in New Jersey does not mean I have to root for the New Jersey Devils. All right, we'll get back to my list because I'm gonna have to remember who is where here. It was kind of hard getting this list together because of the if the 20 to 10 range was kind of hard. All right, next on my list, the New York Rangers. I can't stand the New York Rangers for the simple fact is that they're New York, and the city thinks that they're better than every other city in the country. There are guys that I respect from the Rangers in the past: Messier, Leach, Richter. Uh, those guys I do. Adam Graves. I respect those guys. I cannot stand the Rangers simply on the fact that they're in my division and that the city feels that they're better than everybody else. That's the reason why I can't stand the New York Rangers. Simple as that. That's the reason why I can't stand the Rangers. This thing is giving me all problems today. Next up, Boston. I cannot. The Boston Bruins, they're. All right, look. The Bruins are the Bruins. I'm going to go off camera for a little bit here. The Bruins are the Bruins, all right? They are who they are. This stems back from the 70s. It's also, it's just another one of those things where ever since Boston's gotten their taste of success lately, it just seems like they think they're better than everybody else. I cannot stand Patrice Bergeron. I think he is a dirty player. And you can understand where I'm going with some of these teams that I can't stand. It is that it's those kind of teams. Next up on my list, Columbus. The reason I can't stand Columbus is that it's a team that whenever they stink, they always play the Flyers tough. And we never seem to be able to beat them, even when we're the better, more talented team. And now that they got John Tortorella as their coach, I cannot stand John Tortorella. So they bumped up. The Islanders are next. All right. The Islanders, it's not one of those things that I dislike the Islanders. It's just that I don't like the Islanders. You know what I mean? The Islanders, they're who they are. Uh, they're just in our division. They're there. I can't stand their new arena. Their new arena is awful looking. Um, Next, Montreal. Now, granted, I don't hate Montreal. All right. How can you hate a team that's won most Stanley Cups? But it just this that is the reason why I don't like them is because they've won a lot of Stanley Cups, and usually if I would pull for a Canadian, if a Canadian team is in the Stanley Cup final, I'll pull for that Canadian team. But I can't. I don't want to see Montreal win another Stanley Cup. You've got enough already. 23 Vancouver. This is because of their fans. Look, the Flyers have lost many Stanley Cup finals, and to my record, I don't think that the fans have ever rioted after losing the Stanley Cup finals. Get over it. You lost. Twice I can remember Canucks losing the Stanley Cup finals and their fans rioting. Why? What is the sense of busting trashing your city when you lose a Stanley Cup? Granted, there are some Canuck fans out there that are great. There's a guy that I watch on YouTube, the hockey guy. Shannon is a great. He's a good Canucks fan, and he's a great Canucks fan. He's a Vancouver Canucks fan. But you lose the Stanley Cup, there's no sense in you rioting. Yes, granted, my Flyers, are we're not the greatest fan base. Philadelphia is not the greatest fan base. Okay, I can attest to that. I mean, we on a night we were honoring Ed Snyder, we threw the bracelets to give out. And if you go back and watch the highlight video of my recap of that game against Washington, yeah, you'll see that I rip my fans. I will rip the Flyers fans if they act stupid like that. 22 is Detroit. This stems back to 97. 13-year-old, 14-year-old kid, heartbroken when the Flyers lost to the Red Wings in the 4 games. For the longest time, I could not stand the Red Wings. As I've grown up, you get a little mature. You realize there was something special there. I can't be too upset, but still, they've won a lot in the last few years. Granted, when we get down to lower in the list, you'll see that. 21, the Capitals. I really don't have a problem with the Caps. Uh, I like Ovechkin. This stems from nothing really. Because you're in our division. They bumped us in the playoffs 2 years ago. It just seems, that the Caps, I don't have a problem. 20 is Tampa Bay. Don't have a problem with Tampa Bay. They um, they beat us in '04. I was okay with that. 19, the Panthers. I don't have a problem with the Panthers. We're getting into that range where I don't have a problem with any the teams from like 20 to 10. I don't have a problem with. 18, Minnesota. I like that there's a team in Minnesota. I just don't follow. I don't really care. I mean, but I do like that. I like their logo. I like to see hockey thrive in Minnesota. 17, Buffalo. I hated the Sabres back in the mid 90s and because of Matthew Barnaby and Dominik Hasek. I've I've softened on the Sabres in the last few years. I don't really have a care for the Sabres. Uh, but that was it. 16, Arizona. Uh, like I said, I got family that lives out in Arizona, so that's why they're kind of middle of the pack. I do like the Coyote head, um, but they're just the middle of the pack. 15, Winnipeg. It's kind of funny. I put Arizona and Winnipeg back to back on this list, but Winnipeg, middle of the pack. My friend Terry, that's her team. Winnipeg would be a little higher on this list if it wasn't for Dustin Byfuglien. I do not like Dustin Byfuglien. He's the one person on Winnipeg I can't stand. 14, Ottawa. Like I said, the Senators. They're they're there. They're just middle of the pack. I just don't care pretty much for the Senators. 13 is Toronto. Um, I like the colors of the Leafs, and I respect the heritage of the Leafs, and that they haven't won since 1967 kind of pulls me wanting to root for them to actually win a Stanley Cup in the next, hopefully soon. And I think with Austin Matthews, they will do that. Um, Granted, hopefully not. I mean, the numbers aren't showing up here, but 12 is the San Jose Sharks. I love the Sharks. In that mindset, they're just the teams that I don't really pay attention to. I wish they would have won the cup a couple years ago against Pittsburgh when they were their eighth seed, and that would have been nice. But I've always liked the Sharks logo. Um, that was what 12, 11's Calgary. I like to see Calgary bounce back. Johnny Gaudreau, kid from Jersey, is with that team. I want to see Calgary bounce back and hopefully win cup coming up here within a few years. I haven't won since '89, but I'd like to see them. Number 10. Now we're getting into the teams that I believe it's 10. Yeah, 10. Los Angeles. I like the Los Angeles Kings for the simple fact that when they won their 2 cups, they had a lot of guys that were on the Flyers team in 2010 that I really loved. I've always respected the Kings, even when Gretzky was there. If it wasn't for LA, we wouldn't have the teams in Anaheim and San Jose and Nashville and Carolina. You know, if it wasn't for the success of the Kings, we wouldn't have the expansion that we have now, and we'll have a team in Las Vegas. Number 9 is the Carolina Hurricanes. The reason I put the Hurricanes higher on this list was for Rod Brind'Amour. When the Hurricanes and the Oilers fought in that finals in '06, I was pulling for the Oilers, but I was glad to see Brind'Amour get a cup. Brind'Amour was always one of my favorite players with the Flyers. I always liked the the Hurricane logo. I prefer their third jersey, if any more. But I know Adidas isn't doing the third jerseys this year. But uh, but I always liked the red and black and white. That was always cool. Number 9 is Colorado. I liked Colorado when they made the deal when they were the Nordiques, when they made the deal with Philly to get when the Flyers got Lindros, lost Hextall and all that, but they got some key pieces. And another reason why I like Colorado is the reason they're higher on the list was Ray Bork. When Ray Bork was able to win the Stanley Cup in Colorado in 2001, I've always liked the uniforms. I've always liked the A with the puck coming down. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I do that, and they beat Detroit a lot. So I was happy about that. Um, 8 is the St. Louis Blues. I've always liked the Blues. I love their logo. I was a big Chris Pronger fan, so when Pronger came to the Flyers, I was so happy. But he was with the Blues for the longest time. And St. Louis, it's a good hockey town, and it's sad that they haven't been able to get over the hump of being able to win a Stanley Cup. I mean, they made the first 3 finals in the '60s, or yeah, '60s and the early '70s, but late '60s. But they weren't able to win. But I've always liked the logo. Their colors are always sharp. The red and the blue and the yellow. I've always liked that. Uh, Number 5 is Nashville. I recently starting liking Nashville because due to the fact that their fans are just great. The chance they had last year uh, with it's all your fault kind of stuff that got me going. I'd like to see Nashville succeed, and I've always liked their colors of the yellow and the red and the blue. That was always I always liked that color scheme. Now we get in now. Now we're getting into the top 5. Number 5 is Dallas. And the reason I like the Stars stems from the fact of when they were in Minnesota. Yes, I'm a Philadelphia fan. I like Dallas. I like Dallas. Well, to be honest with you, I don't have a problem with the Dallas Stars. It's the Cowboys I have a problem with. But yeah. So the Dallas Stars I don't have a problem with. I've always liked the green. Green is my favorite color. And when they had that team in '99, and at that time, I hated the Buffalo Sabres, so I wanted them to beat the Sabres in the Stanley Cup final. I've always liked the Stars and to stay back to Minnesota and all that stuff. Um, Going into number 4 is the Anaheim Ducks. All right, I'm a kid. I was born in the '80s, 1992. The movie The Mighty Ducks came out. Okay, that that sticks with me since I was a little kid of liking the Mighty Ducks, the Anaheim Ducks. It's from the Disney movie. I like their newer uniforms now. I like the orange and the black and the gold on it. I'm a stickler for orange, of course, but I like the Ducks, and I'm glad that they won a Stanley Cup in '07 uh, with that core group. Number 3 is the Chicago Blackhawks. Oh, a team that has won a lot of cups in the last few years. You don't want to see that. I like Chicago. I've always had affinity for the city of Chicago. One of my favorite TV shows, the center city where they worked was in Chicago, which was ER. I've always liked the Chicago Blackhawks. Even when I was a little kid, when Jeremy Roenick was with them, I liked the Chicago Blackhawks. Um, when they were facing Pittsburgh in '92, yes, I was a little kid, but I was still somewhat paying attention, but I wasn't paying attention. I was hoping they would have won that series. But yes, they beat my Flyers in 2010, but my Flyers weren't supposed to be there. So the Blackhawks, they're there as my number 3 favorite team. You got to have a Western Conference team, but my second favorite team, because I look at it this way: you got to have at least one Western Conference team, a Canadian team, and an Eastern Conference team, and your favorite team you need to play for. As my alarm is going off, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. But as you know the as a as a Flyers fan, I was not upset that they lost. Like I said, my fandom is I have a favorite Western Conference team, I have a favorite Canadian team, and I have my favorite team. The Hawks, I know. Well, the Hawks are there. They're number 3. and I always liked the root for the Chicago Blackhawks. I've always had the city of affinity for Chicago because they mirror Philadelphia so much, and that's why I kind of like the Blackhawks and I like the the city of Chicago. Number two is the Edmonton Oilers. What? You're doing a series on your show about the Oilers beating your Flyers in '87. Why are you an Oilers fan? The Oilers are my Canadian team that I root for. I went to Millville High School, and our colors are orange and blue. I like the Oilers' colors. I've also respected the Oilers over the years for what they did to the game and speeding it up, making it faster, and having scoring. I'm a big aficionado for scoring. I love high scoring hockey games. Yes, do I want a good goaltender duel every once in a while? Yeah, cool. Everybody wants a good goaltender duel every once in a while. Who wouldn't? But I like the Oilers and I like the history of the Oilers. Gretzky will always be one of my favorite players. Um, and he was with the Oilers in that time. And yes, they beat the Flyers twice in the finals, but there's the Flyer like I'm doing with that '87 retrospective. It's just like the Flyers fought in that series, and the better team showed, and the Oilers were a better team. But I like the Oilers. I like Connor McDavid, except for when he's bad mouth and Brandon Manning. But I like the Oilers, and I want to see the Oilers succeed because that's a team that I'd like to see back up on top. Uh, like I said, the Oilers, I respect their lineage and their history, and I like their colors. One of my bucket lists, hopefully before I pass away, is to go see the Oilers and the Flames on a back-to-back in the dead of winter on a home and home. Go see them in Calgary and go see them in Edmonton. That's one of my bucket lists. That's something, I'll stay in a hotel the whole time when it's cold, but that's one of my bucket lists. I want to go see the Oilers and the Flames play. And number one, of course, is the Philadelphia Flyers. I've been a Flyers fan since I was knee high to a grasshopper. My father raised me to be a Flyers fan. I'm a 4-for-4 guy. Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, and Eagles. The Flyers are number one in my book. I will always root for the Flyers, no matter how old. The older I get, ebbs and flows of fandom. But the Flyers will always be there. Um, and it's just from the simple fact of growing up in the tri-state area, growing up near Philadelphia, you get adjusted to rooting for the teams that are close to you. And the Flyers, they're the team that I've seen most live. I've gone to more Flyers games than any of the other four sports. I just love the orange and black. I love the lineage and the history. I'm a Flyers history aficionado. I can tell you a lot of stuff about this team. I watched a lot of highlight videos, as my dad can attest to, from that '86 and '87 team. I've had my favorite players over the years of why I, enjoy the team. And it's just one of those things where you get born and raised into a mindset of who you want to root for. And my father raised me to be a Flyers fan, and his father raised him to be a Flyers fan. Even though my dad and my uncle, and even though my dad and my grandfather, they lived in Ohio for years. My dad was a Bruins fan growing up too. He liked Bobby Orr, but once he moved back to here, he fell in love with the Flyers, and my grandfather fell in love with the Flyers. So that's the reason why I root for the Flyers. Is that it was bred into me, and I see the future as bright for this team. And I don't want to turn this into a Flyers Love Fest because you guys can see that on my channel all the time when I do reviews of games and all that stuff. I'm going to try to do more of the teams based here, more of a variety of covering all 31 teams. Like I said, I didn't do anything on Las Vegas. I don't have an opinion on them yet because I haven't played a game. I'll have an opinion on them maybe halfway through the season of what I think. I want to see Las Vegas succeed. I want to see a team, succeed. I would love to see another team. I would love to see the NHL go back to Quebec. I feel that the NHL would benefit going back to Quebec. Uh, that or Hartford. Hartford deserves it too. But for now, we got 31 teams coming up here shortly. I'll be doing my season preview for the Flyers because we're a couple of weeks, about 2 or 3 weeks out from training camp. So I'll be doing training. I'm gonna do some stuff different this year. I may go to training camp a couple of times, show some pictures of that. I'll do maybe do some training camp reports, and then I'll do my season preview for the Flyers. I may do something after I do it. If the Flyers are playing, I'll do my Flyers podcast. But I think the next day, when like if I'm off work or I'll get done early, I'll do something called maybe last night in the NHL. Um, Go over discuss what happened in the NHL, discuss the scores, where the standings are. If you guys think that's awesome, like, subscribe, and share this video. Comment in the comment section below if you would like to. Um, for those who are going to be new to this channel, if you guys decide to sub to the channel, who are watching this for the first time, my name is Patrick Lynn. I am a Flyers fan. I cover after every game. Right now, I'm doing a retrospective of the '87 finals. If you guys want to follow that, something that I do at the end of every of my episodes is something that a former Flyers, the late great Gene Hart, used to do. My friends, good night and good hockey.